The first roster update of MLB The Show 22 is less than a week away. So let's talk about some of the players you should be looking at to invest in to make a ton of stubs here in this first roster update. Now more than ever, it is important we can capitalize on some of these roster updates and make stubs, because flipping is rough so far in MLB The Show 22. So we got to be able to capitalize, make some subs here on these roster updates. And it's important to come in and get early on these guys with a lot of the quick sell changes. Definitely going to impact and change up a lot of how we approach these. One thing I will say out the gate, still a week away, still some games to be played. And as always with this video, we're taking our approach of how can we make stubs. There's a couple guys out there who are probably definitely going to be upgraded, but if they're not really at an investable price point, we can't come in and make any stubs off of them. So everything we're talking about today is with the mindset of being able to make a solid return on our investments and make stubs. And then, of course, at the end of the day, impossible for me to mention everybody without an hour-plus long video. So I'm just highlighting a couple who are my favorites so far, based off both their ability to get upgraded and whatever their stub count is right now in terms of a return on an investment. Now, as we're going through, if you enjoy this video, you want to support the channel, get early access to videos just like this, consider becoming a channel member. You can find the link to that down below. Get exclusive access to a Discord room where we're always talking about some of these upgrades, and you get early access to videos just like this. It supports me and allows me to continue to put in more time, effort, and more quantity of videos as a full-time content creator. On that note, though, let's go ahead. Let's hop into it. Let's take a look at some guys who are off to a hot start so far in the 2022 MLB season. First guy we are going to be looking at here is Eduardo Escobar. Mets are out to a hot start. Eduardo Escobar has been playing really well as part of that. Now, maybe not the ability to get to diamond because of his defensive attributes, but again, with the quick sell changes this year, Eduardo Escobar has value as an investment, even just getting to an 83, 84 overall. Currently selling for 614 stubs. The quick sell value of an 81 overall gold is 600 stubs. So as of this moment, at the time of recording this video, this is a risk-free investment. When you see a trend line, been around there for a while. Even if he gets up to an 83, that is all of a sudden a 1200 stub quick sell value. 84 would be 1500. So I like Escobar getting a +2 overall, which could definitely happen with his 417 batting average versus left so far, and still hitting 250 versus righties. Not bad at all versus righties at that 60 contact number. It could definitely get a boost there. Obviously, you could get a boost in his contact versus lefties as well. That could be enough to give him a +2 overall, and all of a sudden we're having a doubled up investment here with a guy like Eduardo Escobar. Now, I will say he has been getting a little bit lucky, and it's definitely unlikely he continues to hit 417, but if he can continue it for enough just to get to an 83, 84 overall range, again, the price point is the attractiveness of this. We're talking about making stubs from investments. Eduardo Escobar is very, very investable at quick sell value and has a relatively solid chance to get some contact upgrades, maybe even some vision and discipline. Find himself at an 83, 84. I believe it was an 83 overall gold for a lot of last year as well. So that precedent is there too. The next guy we're looking at here, I'm going to be straight up, is player number 2. He may be my favorite investment of this video so far. Tommy Edman. He is the epitome of what we look for in a roster update. So to break it down, my man already has good fielding. He's an 81 overall because of his fielding. If you took his fielding and dropped it to 70, he'd be like a 74 overall, 75, 76 maybe. He is an 81 overall because of his fielding. So that tells us, hey, if he starts hitting the ball well and gets some attribute upgrades there, wow, he has a ton of room to grow. Where else does he have room to grow? Power versus right. He has 35 power versus right so far on this card, and he is still an 81 overall. That's honestly impressive to do that with 35, 65, and then 67 and 70 on the contact numbers. And then when you dive into his hitting numbers so far this year, he's batting 341 on the season, hitting both sides relatively well as a switch hitter. 67 and 70 contact, that is just slightly above league average. Our league average contact rating is a 60. Tommy Edman just slightly above that. Obviously 341 is well more than slightly above a league average hitter. So we could see some solid contact upgrades right there alone, and he can see some solid overall increases. But in addition to that, for a guy who doesn't have much power, he has a 293 isolated power number, which is that's a strong number for anybody. I mean, even some of the best power hitters in the game, a 293 isolated power is very strong. Much less for a guy not really known as a power hitter. He's already got 3 home runs on the season as well. And when we deep dive into some of the more deeper analytical numbers, his barrel percentage is well up this year over previous years. So he's getting a way more solid contact on the ball. He's in the 73rd percentile for barrel percentage, the 75th percentile for expected batting average. So it's not a mirage. He's not just getting incredibly lucky. He's hitting the ball well. He's in the 94th percentile of max exit velocity. Tommy Edman is squaring with the ball very well this year and hitting it strongly. And as a guy whose overall is propped up by his fielding, I love Tommy Edman. We have all the room to grow offensively. He's showing that offensive prowess so far this season. He gets those upgrades offensively. He can easily become a diamond, but even at 81, again, talk about it. If he gets to 83, 84, there's a lot of value there at 810 stubs right now. 83 quick sell 1200, 84 quick sell 1500. We're making a solid return on our investment, and Tommy Edman becomes a nice little long-term play of a guy who can become a diamond, mid-diamond, maybe even more if he continues to hit the ball how he has. Probably my favorite guy we're going to talk about today, and the reason why we talked about him so much. Next guy we're going to talk about here, Francisco Lindor. Again, a guy with really good defense, holding up his overall, not a whole lot of hittings. A really solid archetype that we like for. In addition to that, it's Francisco Lindor. Regardless of how his last 2 seasons have gone, even though last year he ended up putting together a pretty solid season, we all know 2020 wasn't the best for him. It's Francisco Lindor. He has a track record. There is value to that in terms of roster updates. A guy with that namesake, with the track record of being an elite player, one of the best players in the game, there's going to be a little bit more likelihood to be more quickly updated in these roster updates as he shows that, hey, okay, he's kind of getting back to that player he was. So far, Lindor as well, playing really good for the Mets to start the season. Look at his isolated numbers again, 286 on the isolated power, really good. And batting 341 versus righties so far in this year, 53 contact versus right. There is an incredible amount of room to grow there. I will say he's struggling a little bit versus lefties, so it could be counteracted with a downgrade versus lefties. But overall, tons of room to grow offensively. Lindor's been hitting the ball very well. He continues that. No doubt going to return to the diamond that we remember him as for so long in MLB The Show games. Real quick, take a look at his price. He is 1850, a little bit on the higher end, but could be a play where you come in at 1850, 1900. A hype begins to build on Lindor as he's such a big name. The more casual player, so to speak, may be more inclined to invest in a guy like Lindor. His price continues to increase, maybe even gets up to diamond. There's a lot of abilities to return your investment there. Fourth guy we're talking about here, next guy up. There was no way we weren't going to talk about Carlos Rodon. During the offseason, I still was flabbergasted that the White Sox just never offered him a qualifying contract and just let him walk away. I said out the gate, he was probably going to be one of the best values of the offseason. Well, he certainly looks like that so far. Rodon has been absolutely insane for the Giants. Definitely the best pitcher in the National League through the first couple weeks of the season, in my opinion. Now, I will say, only downside, he is already 2,800 stubs. When we look at a diamond, that's going to quick sell for 3,000 stubs. Now, of course, if he gets diamond, it's likely his price would be north of 3,000, but we definitely cannot guarantee anything north of quick sell value during these upgrades, because again, as the season goes on, that certainly will be the case. If this was July right now and Rodon was an 83 getting up to an 85, we would not invest in him at 2,800 subs. There'd be no margin to make there. But so early on in the game, there could be a small enough supply where we see his price get closer to that 4 to 5, 6K range. We see a couple other diamonds at. And of course, with how he's pitching, he could go well north of 85 overall as well. Got a lot of room to grow on the Ks per 9, relatively speaking, for the rest of his card. He's only been striking out 15 batters per 9 innings so far to start the season. As well, where else does he have room to grow? Walks per 9. Only 3 walks per 9 over his first 17 innings so far. So 15 Ks per 9, 3 walks per 9 over his first 17 innings. Those are absolutely incredible rakes. those two numbers will be getting an upgrade 100%, and that alone probably pushes them into that diamond caliber tier. Obviously, should get another start before the roster update becomes finalized. In the past, that has been Wednesday games for kind of those last ones taken into account for the roster update, sometimes Tuesday games. So should get another start before the roster update. I haven't seen exactly when his next projected start is be, so that could impact things. If he pitches well, though, in that next start, expect his price to go well north of what it is at 28.30 right now on the sound. Now, Rodon, really solid play. Not as high return on your investment, but not as much risk either. Much safer. Fifth name we're going to be discussing today. We're on to some silvers now. Got a couple silvers we're going to talk about real quick. Pablo Lopez. Like what Pablo Lopez has been doing. He had a really good 2021 season as well. He already does have some hype. We can see the hype building on Pablo Lopez. 650 on the sell now right now. That is high for a silver starting pitcher at 78 overall, but I think he has a very high ceiling to match with that as well. So 650 in a couple months, maybe looking like we're getting in super early. If he's all of a sudden 83, 84, maybe even pushing higher than that, that looks like a super early awesome return on our investment. Now, obviously, ton of room to grow in his Ks per 9, only with an 8.8 Ks per 9 right now. That may even still give him a little bit of boost from 58, but we do want to see him strike out a little bit more hitters. His peripheral numbers very solid to go with strong stats as well. Obviously, our ERA and things like that don't necessarily matter directly. That does not account for any of those attributes, but it is a nice, good overarching barometer. Take a look at how a player has been doing. Pablo Lopez has been performing really well. Not many walks allowed. Not many hits allowed either. Can definitely get some upgrades there. He starts striking out a couple more guys as well. All of a sudden, he's looking like a bona fide stud. And again, he had the great 2021, not a ton of a track record. So it's going to be a little bit more aggressive in these movements as, again, we're learning the type of player Pablo Lopez is. He's not some long tenured veteran who has a track record of performing at a certain level. We're still learning that. So probably going to be a little bit more aggressive for a guy like Pablo Lopez in these updates, because he doesn't have previous years holding him back or propping him up for that matter as well. But again, a strong 2021. He's coming out the gates hot this year. He was a gold for a majority of the season last year. Seems like it's only a matter of time before he gets back to that level. Question is, how high can he go over the course of the season? We'll have to find out. Everybody knows it's not a roster update investment video. Ance Armstrong. If we don't have a Texas Ranger in there, my man Nathaniel Lowe has been absolutely crushing the ball to start the season so far. A little bit of lineup protection down there in Texas. Two brand new hitting coaches as well that helped create awesome offensive performances from Red Sox and the Giants last year. Daily working for Nathaniel Lowe right now. He's batting .412. Now, he's been slightly lucky batting .412. You gotta be to bat that high. And we need to see some more power, but he still has a 350 expected batting average so far. So no matter how you cut that pie, he has been hitting the ball very well. Can see some really solid contact boosts. If he starts to show off that power as well, get a little power boost too. Now, of course, not much defense on this low card, but as a first baseman, we're not too concerned with that. Our overalls for first baseman are much more heavily weighted on their offensive attributes versus a center fielder or a shortstop. Players of those positions where defense is a bit more of a premium. Those positions also have defense weighted more heavily to those overalls. First base, not so much as well. And a guy like Nathaniel Lowe, 98th percentile expected batting average, 96th percentile max exit velocities, hitting the ball very hard, very well, performing very well. He gets some nice offensive attribute upgrades. He's definitely a long-term play at a bronze right now, but at 165 stubs, a bit high for a bronze. The hype is building on him, but again, 165 looks like a steal if he can find his way from bronze to gold. We see that happen every year. Bronze to even higher than that we've seen happen every year. So Nathaniel Lowe could be a really solid long-term play here in MLB The Show 22 investments. A couple others I want to talk about real quickly as well. Guys that I've picked up a couple of here and there, but I want to see either how they perform over time a little bit more. Maybe they're a little bit more expensive than I'd like for them to see. Guys that I'm just trying to get a better vibe on. First off, out the gate, Steven Kwan, Seiya Suzuki. I'm sure I'll get comments about those. If y'all do comment about that, clearly you didn't watch all the way through the video. those are way too expensive. You can't invest in those. There's no investability at cards at that high of a price. So get those out of the way. A couple of guys want to talk about Logan Webb. Absolutely filthy stuff still. Being overshadowed a little bit by Rodon. I think Webb is as good, if not better than a pitcher, just by pure pitching ability. So Logan Webb, super investable right now. Can't really predict anything for him for this upcoming roster update, though. Just want to watch him a little bit more to see how he does. As well, Carlos Carrasco has come out hot out the gate for the Mets. Definitely a big pick-me-up after losing DeGrom. Carrasco been battling injuries. Was a dominant pitcher back in his time with the Guardians now. Carrasco starting to find some of that back. He's a guy that I have a very watchful eye on over the next couple weeks. On the pitcher front as well, Sean Manaea, now in San Diego, has had a solid start to his career in San Diego as well. In San Diego, Joe Musgrove pitching very good too. Two guys I'm keeping my eye on. On the offensive side of things, CJ Cron, Sean Murphy, Jurickson Profar, all have been very impressive to start the season. Maybe a little under the radar as well. Three guys that I got them in the corner of my eye. If they continue to perform how they've been performing, definitely going to be time to talk about them getting some significant roster upgrades. That's what we got for this video, though. Let me know, as always, down in the comment section below, who do you think is getting upgraded and downgraded? Who have I ignored? Who am I overhyping? I love chatting roster updates with all of you down in the comments below. So be sure to hit me up down there. And if you enjoyed the video, definitely be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Until next time, I'll catch y'all around.